Hi, today we have Mr. Tejinder Singh with us, who is the CEO of CAMS Account Aggregator with a great experience in the banking field and now as an account aggregator in the BFSI doing some wonders. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving your time.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Sir, you work with an organization which is a core for the BFSI as an account aggregator, right? So, what are your views on your overall digitization levels in our country? So when I say digitization level means I'm talking about whether our country is really digitized. Okay, specifically the BFSI sector, we'll talk about it. So when I mean digitized, I don't mean automated. Okay, I really mean 0-1. Digitized है या नहीं है? ऐसा नहीं कि existing process को automate किया. What's your view on it, sir?
Yeah, so good question actually. The way I see it, this country has seen a very significant change in the last few years, especially in the last 10 odd years, ever since Aadhaar really is taking up the shape. Now Aadhaar and the JAM really form the core of our digital, railroad, the way we should talk about it. And case in point in what happened in COVID. This country could issue the complete through the complete vaccination certification, all of that, the way it was done by India is a global benchmark story. Now even countries like US and all, they were issuing certificates physically, and now what was enabling that was actually the whole process was your ID based. Aadhaar ID, you would have seen a lot of people actually when this concept was being put in place really questioned it, and there are people who still question it. But hats off to government at the time who really pushed the agenda and ensure that every citizen got their identity. Now with that identity and a number being there, it then became the core of rendering many of these digital services. And so to that extent, at least on a large level, we are seeing a sizable movement toward digital transformation. I'll give you an example. When internet started, in the 2001-2 time frame, when the really .com, I was in ABN Bank, and ICICI Bank offered me a job for one of the group companies, Bill Junction Payment Limited, BJPL, and I was very excited. We'll be able to create a solution for Indian citizens where their bill payments can happen digitally. But guess what? Many of these services at that point in time, although were rendered digitally, like online ticketing, everything was done. There was even online e-commerce was also coming up in some form and fashion. But bill payment, the concept being digital, can you imagine the first transaction after the customer says, okay, yes, I'm interested to take a digital service, the gap between the first transaction to his signing up the service would be at least 45 days. So something which can be done now, let's say less than 30 seconds, you just go to any of these payment apps, discover your biller, this is your customer account number, whatever you have, identify, you can make the bill payment in less than 30 seconds. At that moment, the process was based on ECS. Customer had to sign a physical form, sign up the ECS mandate. The mandate will go to the bank will verify it. After that, the biller, once he generates the bill, somebody will go to the biller with a floppy disk, get the data on a floppy, and then
So we have moved from that to this, you're saying?
So I was at that moment we were in the Bill Junction was ahead of the curve. But it takes time to build those stories. Now, in 2001 to 2024, in 23 years, a whole lot of change has happened. But the fact is, this country has seen migration from 45 days to less than 30 seconds, and the convenience it provides, and all that bandwidth it saves for citizens. That was a wasted time spent in queues to just do a mundane job of bill payment. Now digital benefits, we don't have to really tell. But the point is, are we moving in that direction? I would say definitely we are moving. Definitely there is scope to do better. What you see globally happening, at least in many respects, we are far ahead of even many of the developed economies. But are we really at the cutting edge? I would say certainly not. There are economies who are in the digital front also still are much ahead of us. Today you go to something like China, they are making payments using palms and stuff like that. So the scope to bring digital into your life.
Probably because we are behind on innovation.
I would not say behind on innovation. I would say our energies have been more focused toward some other critical core requirements at this point in time in our ecosystem. And what has happened in the last few years, especially with this fintech revolution and regulator taking a very benign approach towards fintechs for them to come up with solution, it has now opened up the space for people who have innovative bent of mind to create those journeys and solutions which can support this vision. I would say the big change for that happened really, all of us would have to admit that it's only when the Jio really brought in data and very cheap data, that was a seminal moment in the digital growth in the country. The next such thing which is around the corner is when Jio and Nvidia coming together to do something on artificial intelligence. Now, I would say for entities at such scale to combine, it actually when these large private institutions join their hands, combine their forces, what they can create, are far more customer centric, and this is capitalism at its peak. It finally delivers value to the citizen, and the citizen should be in a position to avail services which are unthinkable at this point in time. But imagine a future where artificial intelligence and the scale of Reliance and the capabilities of Nvidia coming together to then change the life of Indian citizens.
So our BFSI is moving, but we still have a lot of scope.
Oh, undoubtedly, the scope is unlimited. This is such a domain that I feel hugely passionate about the opportunities that it presents to us day in, day out basis. Every day there are n number of challenges that we have on our table. The solutioning approach and a bunch of young kids who are working excitedly to solve clients' problem. At the core for us in CAMS Finserv, we are as a service partner. We are looking forward and we are listening to clients and their problems, what they are dealing with in providing their services to their customers. So we are B2B to C solution provider, where we ensure that our clients, B2B leg, is reliable, scalable, agile leg, which ensures...
That's where I want your inputs in creating the digital excellence.
Yeah.
Sir, now at CAMS Finserv, how do you see the role of account aggregators and insurance repository also in the insurance sector? Because even account aggregators are now extensively used.
Yeah, so...
And there are challenges.
Let me
And I would also like to talk about challenges.
So these two entities, although you are combined in one statement itself, they are completely different piece of a jigsaw puzzle. The problem statement that account aggregator solves is the documentation of consent part. For any data transmission to happen between silos, the data today also is getting transmitted without consent or unconsented, with customer knowledge, without customer knowledge. That data is moving. That data is available in one platform, is being consumed by other entity, and they are getting some value out of it by doing something. All of that maybe without customer consent. So what account aggregator does is enable that data movement among silos through citizens' consent. So it brings citizens into the center of the process, citizen being made aware that your data will move from, let's say, your banking silo to an insurance company which is looking for the data. Are you okay for this data to move? This is the purpose, this is the service that will be rendered to you, and this is the data that will be shared. So I, as an account aggregator, actually it's a misnomer. We do not aggregate the data at our end. We provide a consent manager layer to citizen to see what is being shared and is he consenting for that. The aggregation, if it happens at the FIU end to that extent, or maybe on a app of an account aggregator at the app level, the citizen can see the data.
I think because it's called as an account aggregator, you have the authority to collect from all the sources and bring it at one point. So one point में बाकी जो join करता है.
Misnomer. Still, I would say, I would personally believe I should have been called a consent manager rather than account aggregator, because it creates a certain level of dissonance in customers' mind that my data is getting aggregated by a relatively unknown entity, because citizens do not really trust any new brand, especially not fintechs. So they would trust existing large financial ecosystem brand for them to have their data. And that's where the data resides. So only regulated entities get the data. Now coming to your point of insurance repositories in fact are the data custodian. They have the data. Account aggregator do not have the data. I'm a data blind pipe for consent management, from moving data from an FIP to an FIU.
So should both of them be merged, ideally speaking, to make life simpler?
Not at all. I think it's a completely different domain. Insurance repository will be a single point where all the data will reside in the data architecture that has been envisaged for repositories. They will provide a digital solution where all data will actually exist, and all insurance companies can use that repository and provide services. Basis API that those repositories will have. Again, something like equivalent to RTAs in mutual funds or depositories on the capital market side. So it provides another platform where centralized data is available for insurance companies to come, or maybe even citizens to come. So maybe you would know, insurance repository like CAMS created a Bima Central platform, which is a customer-facing platform where they can collate the data, see the data, and very seamless journey they have built up. Whereas I can do the same thing for as an account aggregator on my app, but as I said in my previous part of the discussion, I am B2B centric. I am not B2C centric. So I would rather focus my energies on making my clients.
Happen soon.
I
think things will change.
So I would take me from a different perspective. Monetization of these investments, customer-facing investments, okay? Which citizen will be willing to pay for such services? I do not see that possibility of account aggregator rendering services of aggregate statement to citizens, which includes the insurance policy also, and then making, and in a way trying to get it monetized, without doing something which will be unethical and will not be allowed by the regulation, because aggregator's job is very well defined. So if I just aggregate the data at one place and citizen is not willing to pay for those services, there is no business model for me to provide that service, honestly. Whereas as an aggregated entity, any FIU can create the same service. They can create the same consolidated platform, create the service, and then they can monetize by giving whatever. So
they'll add it in the inbuilt charges. So what are the challenges you have been seeing as an account aggregator?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it is not picking up the way it was expected to pick up.
Good question, actually. So you have to take it in a phased manner. The account aggregator as a concept is a very, very powerful concept. I must say the people who have thought through this concept have really got innovation on the scale of a UPI, which was unthinkable in the earlier days, for what it could bring in 5, 7, 10 years down the line. So account aggregator actually kind of mirrors a similar philosophy as a digital public infrastructure. The first set of entities which became part of it were primarily banks, and the use case for them was lending. It still remains among the larger use cases of account aggregator ecosystem, because of government's key requirement of financial inclusion, I would say. Now, the country, India as a country is perennially debt-starved. We are under-invested. Our financial investments ratios are very low. We are under-insured, heavily under-insured. and we have opportunities on all those parameters for the numbers to scale up. But as I was telling you, the first set of entities, the banks who came and became part of account aggregator, were primarily using it for lending. Around 22 July, August 22 is when other regulators started coming up with their regulatory requirements for their set of entities to become part of this ecosystem. The first stage is the data has to be made available. What we call is FIPs. The financial information providers have to make the data available. That primarily happens through a regulatory nudge only. Because most of the entities do not feel comfortable sharing their data outside the ecosystem. And there is a principle of reciprocity where if you want the data as an FIU, you have to first become a FIP. So, because of this dilemma, for a long period of time, a lot of entities were not making their data available. Somewhere in July, August, when the SEBI regulation came up for capital market entities to make the data available through RTAs, and somewhere in November, December of the same year, IRDA came up with the similar notice. PFRD also came up with a requirement. So, by and large now, from the different financial information categories, FI categories that we call, banking data is quite comprehensively covered. Out of something like 240 or 250 crore bank accounts that this country had at that point in time, about 180 crore bank accounts are today discoverable and linkable through account aggregators. Both the RTAs for the mutual fund data are live. Both the depositories, CDSL and NSDL for equity market data are live as a FAP category. Then even all the 3 CRAs for PFRDA, they are also live.
Are all the cooperative banks also live completely?
No. In fact, on the cooperative bank side, there's a huge opportunity. Small finance banks, RRBs, and cooperative banks as an FIP category are, they have their own set of challenges. So I would say from the top, very few cooperative banks and RRBs live. I think what total number 30 odd between.
That would impact your tier 3, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, right? Don't it?
It will at some point start impacting, but currently for the kind of journeys that fintech FIUs or large FIUs are making, their journeys are not so BCD category, BCD city level centric. They are building their journeys primarily on the A category citizens. Although for them, it doesn't make a difference where the citizen is. But the point is,
but I think that's where the challenge comes from insurers, from my understanding point of view, because insurers are now trying to target tier 2, tier 3, and even tier 4 some companies, depending on their partners or their business models. So, क्या हो रहा है कि tier 2, tier 3 is now a bigger target in fact. So, वहाँ पे digital चल नहीं पा रहा because of this, right? Because it's getting blocked somewhere. Already, their income tax returns are not available. The banking records are also getting stuck somewhere. And अगर farmer है तो फिर documentation is different.
No, so but I tell you, there's a big opening for us in that regard, especially in the Jan Dhan phase, account opening phase. The private banks and PSU banks, they played a very aggressive role. They were the ones who got the bulk of the chunks of those Jan Dhan accounts, where all these DBTs are happening. The fact is that I don't think so many cooperative banks or RRBs or small finance banks have a very large chunk of these numbers. To that extent, the banking data is very, as I told you, about 180 crore out of 240 crore, which is 75% coverage. It's not a bad coverage at all. And capital market is fully covered. Financial PFRDA is fully covered. Insurance company is most of it, I think, to my insight, at this point in time, maybe 35 to 36 insurance companies are live. 19 of them are live with CAMS Finserv itself.
Yes.
And the GS data is also live.
Then that's I'm aware, but then it's not picking up to my knowledge. So that is why I want to know what exactly is stopping. Everybody wants. I spoke to the insurance CEOs. They are all gung ho about it. Everybody is like, अभी A आ चुका है. So it's like the way we all speak, Aadhaar आ गया है, JAM आ गया है, तो for the insurance industry A आ चुका है, लेकिन फिर भी वो एक word नहीं लाया.
See, so there are two parts of the story. FIP is the first part of the story where data comes in. FIU is where the opportunity really is when you start consuming the data. And this is a theme, very close to my heart. I have actually gone to regulators also and told them that, see, under regulatory pressures, many of these institutions are live because of the regulatory requirement for them to be live. Because you sent out a regulation saying you have to be live by this date, so they are just, maybe they have done a tick mark activity, which is good enough to begin with. But the meat of the opportunity is not being live as an SIP. When they will see that as an FIU, when a large PSU bank says as an FIU, I can provide services much beyond, what today is possible through my physical channels. If Indian citizen can adapt WhatsApp and UPI, there is no reason for me to believe that the rural customer out there will not adapt for digital services being rendered through account aggregator. It's the investment of the FIU. See, I get constrained by FIU's investment of the time and energy and money to build those digital journeys. And what I can tell you from our experience on the fintech side, many of these fintech regulatory entities, like who have RIA licenses, Ind Money, or maybe a stockbroker like Angel One, or they create services beyond lending also using account aggregator data. And that is what is maybe the future is. At this point in time, I think around June or July of 24, Samati came up with a report. They said capital market is already 25% of account aggregator. From a domain which was only lending centric, the capital market entities are already 25% share. It is a significant movement which is happening, and I'm very, very confident. See, there has been some changes on the IRIDA front for the schema and the data which is being shared through account aggregators, and some of them are very, very healthy changes. Like there have been change on for life insurance category, a different set of fields will be shared. For GI category, a different set of fields will be shared. The new schemas have both pluses and minuses. From the pluses side, I see it will really make the end user, the FIU, create digital journeys which are more customer centric. On the negative side, I see there are some challenges around things like discovery. If insurance company has to provide services, the basic we've been trying for some time now to work with insurance companies to, as I told you, 19 of them are live with us as an FIP. So when they started working for their FIU aspects of the journey, there has been challenges around whether they are able to discover the citizens holding basis a mobile number. The fact is the mobile number in many of these entities are not of the citizen, they are of their channel partners or distributors. So that plus many times with the data which comes through this journey is not really the quality of data leaves much to address. Sometimes there are blank fields. So by and large, when regulator will start focusing on more utilization of it, I think there will be a shift towards. So there is, I tell you what, there is a body, there is a set which watches account aggregator and its interaction and its volumes and its services very closely. And that body and those departments and the ministries, whoever is watching it, they are not only observing it from the perspective of the quality of service, let's say how many times your services are up and running, so API calls are happening, what is the timeline in which what's the latency of those calls, in what duration the data is coming up. And there is a transparency around it. There are dashboards that account aggregators publish to the whole ecosystem to figure out which bank is up and providing data, which bank for some reason is down and data quality is low. It's like your payment aggregator, when you do the transaction, it will tell you this, there are certain, some payment channels which are not really fully active. So to that extent, the quality of transactions are being made available. Now the next layer is quality of data itself in those moments. which has to be addressed. By and large, I think the journey has well begun. We should have seen maybe higher volume. We could have done much more on adoption. But I'm very happily, very positively surprised. The regulators in this country are listening. There was a discussion with the regulator last year, September. We made a representation. We said we what we can do about adoption of account aggregator. Only matter of less than 3 weeks, there was this campaign running on TV. Mr. Amitabh Bachchan saying, RBI कहता है account aggregator सही है. So to that extent, I am seeing the regulator is really keen for this regulation to happen, and it will be limited by the investments of time and energy, the private public partnership, the private entities can put in to really see the value in this.
Sir, I got a question on this. Like, we all agree that all the regulators are very positive, they are trying to push things, and the government is also not creating any hindrance in any form, right? That's fair. Now, the second part, you spoke about the data quality being a challenge, right? Now, I'll take you to your earlier role. Okay, you have been a veteran banker, and you have been a digital guy all along, right? So, my question to you is, given your extreme experience of last 2.5, 3 decades of being a banker in various phases, various zones you have seen, various digital times you have seen, how do we create a seamless digital journey? And I'm here now talking as a customer, because even today, the best of Indian banks are fully paper in a digital journey. Okay. Specifically, अगर कहेंगे कि कोई कंपनी का अकाउंट ओपन करना है, MOA का कॉपी दो, AOA का कॉपी दो, ये दो, then उस पे हर पेज पे you have to put a rubber stamp, and one of the directors has to sign it. Now the best part of this process, I'm a fan of this things. So I give the copy, the spice copy which I get from the MOA, okay, from the Ministry of Company Affairs जो आता है, FCA से आता है, मैं वही चीज फॉरवर्ड करता हूँ बाकायदा. Okay, the original email which I got with the attachment, I am forwarding to the best of banks in India, name it. Okay, I am forwarding it. And even insurance companies sometimes they ask for key man cases and high value cases. We are forwarding them. उसके बाद क्या होता है? The bank prints it. If you are a lucky privy customer, private customer, wealth customer, whatever good names you want to use. If you are that the case, then the printout will come to your house or your office, and then आप उसमें नहीं हो तो आपको printout लेके उनके branch जाना है. Now what happens? A genuine e-copy has got printed into multiple pages, and then that guy comes and takes your stamp and पूरा stamp मारता है, फिर बोलता है सर sign करो, and I'm signing 100 pages, literally 100 pages, MOA, AO, everything, including Aadhaar and PAN, which we say the jam हम बात करते हैं सालों से, सब self attest होता है. उसके बाद it has to be in blue ink, because black ink होगा तो then there are different sort of operational problems. And then what happens? You take it. Now operations will not work on a physical paper because we are digital companies. So उसको वापस scan करेंगे outsourcing agencies के through, and now the operations guy will see that document. ये तो पहले भी था, e-copy आपके पास. 1, 2, you don't trust the email service. Nobody stopped you from directly pinging through an API and the MCA records, UIDAI records. ये services है. All the mobile banking apps are saying that
I get
still we are not into it. And even the claims servicing, general, we start with digital, we end up with paper.
So Ganesh, I think if I hear you, what you're saying is very loud and clear, that from a citizen's demand for digital servicing, the opportunity is immense, no doubt about it. But is there a progress which is happening? So somewhere I see a progress. Like for what you just said on current account opening, I can give you examples from our capital market union. So we have these AIF and PMSs. Similar set of problems where a hell lot of Herculean physical effort goes into getting yourself live as an AIF or PMS. Completely solved. Now that journey is completely digital.
Yes.
End to end. Nothing, no paper required. Paperless. something which could have was being done over X number of days of physical movement of, but it is being solved in one domain and with one regulator.
And
What is
smallest,
happening?
and at the smallest percentage of the actual transactions.
Point is, see, there is a directional movement at a regulator level because they have also realized the power of having digital processes. There is a distinct movement. So many of these banks actually solved for, let's say, current accounts. What we just saying, for your current account opening process, they've solved the first layer itself, authentication. They have been able to solve it. This is some process. But in my account aggregator domain, as I said, our data today which is live is not of current accounts. Only proprietorship current account data is live. For partnerships and for limited firms, we have yet to have Revit specification as to how I will authenticate itself who is the citizen which is sharing the data. Is that a problem which is not solvable? It is already solved in some domain. Your GST data gets moved digitally using some authentication. Maybe authorizing it is authentication. This is solvable. But there has to be maybe Revit has to come up with a schema, regulation, work has to happen to ensure there is a...
India Stack API में GST data भी है available.
Absolutely. So the fact is,
And
from a
banks can directly take it also legally.
They can take it, but as of today, as of now, account aggregators cannot provide current account data, cannot take consent for current account customers. It can only share for saving accounts of single customer, not even for joint customers, or in proprietary. So because these are problems, but at the end of the day, how much is the opportunity over there? Maybe 8-10%, depending on whatever category of institution looking. Banking maybe 7 to 8%, capital market maybe 9 to 10-11%. Opportunity is there, but I would say the larger piece is still available to me. I still have 90% of the opportunity of data is available. What I can do on that? But yes, newer categories to be made available, newer segments to be made available into the account aggregator. Something like telecom data can be made available. It can help you underwrite much better using telecom. Maybe you don't have a rich banking background and you have never taken a loan, but you have a very good payment record on your mobile phones. So the banking data is currently not available. Credit card data is not available. So are there opportunities to bring in more?
Credit data is still available with the bureaus, right? The credit bureaus.
They are available at the bureau at a payment level. I'm looking at a transaction level detailing of credit card. What is the persona of this customer when he is availing credit? Is he using most of the credit for his groceries?
That is at the individual financial institution level, which they are using as a AI.
A lot of insurance companies actually are very keenly interested to understand the persona of their customer. If he is a smoker, or is he already having a health issue, how much is the spend that this customer is already doing on SIM goods, or is already spending on, let's say, medical category. So all this information, if it is made available in a digital fashion, reliable fashion, analyzed output to the insurance company, it will help them underwrite far better. That's the start of the journey. I am seeing the opportunity is huge. We have seen the scale-ups happening in this ecosystem from last, I would say, 24 months, and on an average at about 17 to 18% month on month. And we have crossed critical landmark of about 10 crore customers in this country who have given the consent. This landmark was crossed in August of 24. As you are growing at that 10 crore level at a 60% growth month on month, you can actually see a tsunami getting built up. Like people could not see UPI getting built up, and one fine day everybody is making digital payment. I see in account aggregator a tsunami getting built up and the data movement getting facilitated. Opportunity is endless, but work is happening on the ground. There are 15-16 account aggregator license holders. there are 4-5 people who are completely keenly working and interested in making this a success story. I'm keeping my finger crossed for a greater days and better future ahead for all of us. Actually, I would say it's going to be beneficial for Indian citizen end of the day if account aggregator succeeds. Yeah.
Good to know about the piece, but then still, my question still remains unanswered that we are not fully digital. Even though we have it, the scopes are, the documentation is available, but I think the process is creating a problem somewhere. And now with this, actually I'll come to the next point also, that is India by and large is an agricultural economy, right? At least on paper more than 60%, etc. And this is the area where most of the insurers, more than the bankers, because probably most of them do not even have bank accounts or having bank accounts as per their requirements, but insurers, when they are trying to target, like when we talk about inclusion, they're trying to target across India. So when the farmers want an insurance, it could be a general insurance or a life insurance. Okay, general insurance, the motor worker tractor is a smaller problem, I can say. Crop and all is picking up and doing its rounds. On life insurance front, what happens is they need to provide the income proof, then they need to provide the eligibility itself, ki bhai itna cover kyun chahiye. So for that documentation is required. And we all know the agriculture income under section 10 ke andar, because of that, because of the exemption, what happens is documentation, income proof is not available, right? So it becomes a challenge. So surrogates bhi nahi milta ढंग से कि चलो can we use surrogates? So how do you look at this, and how do you think we can change the scenario for agricultural customers, the farmers?
No, so your point is well taken. There is a huge opportunity in digital inroads into, especially in the insurance sector. This country, by any stretch of imagination, is under-insured in all categories. If it would not have been for mandatory requirement, even your, let's say, motor insurance, even that's by law.
And it's increased more because of the
government initiatives on providing insurance covers to for health and all through various schemes. I think that future which is getting created today at the background of many of participants like fintechs, new private insurance companies, account aggregator, the core pieces are there. Core pieces of this infra are there. Work is happening, and maybe a disruptive movement, like even for payments, the disruption really happened because of, let's say, demonetization for COVID. That really transformed the behavior. So here the challenge is, beyond having the product, is our behavior also of the Indian citizen. And what is the approach toward insurance? Is it for many years in this country, insurance was actually sold as an investment. That's a sad part of the story. When we don't value itself as an insurance, when the concept is live for the day, it doesn't matter. Actually, the insurance as a category, needs a lot of investment from the powers to really make Indian citizens realize the benefit of insurance.
Just as an anecdote, when I was heading my rural business strategy, so I had gone to various villages in Punjab during my days. So I met a lot of farmers, and a lot of sardars. Okay, so they were rich. Most of the farmers. I'm not talking about the front end mass field one, but and when I was trying to ask them about protection business or so answer was, हम तो भले चंगे हैं जी, हमें तो मरना नहीं है. So it's like you feel कि immortality आ गया है somewhere. So they say कि why do we need insurance? Like investment कर लो तो.
So the fact is, when we say Sardar, that's a very important topic. The Sardar मस्त मोला होते हैं, हरफन हंसते खेलते रहते हैं, living, enjoying every moment.
Yeah.
That comes at the cost of not thinking about the future. Because there's a land which was ravished by, this is my personal philosophy, can be wrong, but this was a land where every few decades there was a war happening, a major war happening.
Yeah.
And the period of peace was short-lived. And the DNA is to enjoy whatever short-lived period you have.
That's the reason I
to
gave the
enjoy.
anecdote. Saying
Now
that
you are
live
talking
by the day आपने कहा ना, तो it's like very clear.
So
Philosophy is
tell
very
them
clear.
that whereas in the southern India, you never had any doubt about your whether you live or not. Will there be war or not? So you had time and so you will see the insurance penetration also is linked to things like geography, north, south, is linked to segments, educated, uneducated. If you correlate to all of that, it's only when you try and understand the customer at its core. If it is not keen to buy insurance for his life, he buys the insurance for his vehicle because government wants it. For him, the citizen, the worth of the insurance is, truly insurance product could be a term insurance. I'm personally a very big fan of not having any of these insurance products which are return linked. If looking for return, go to markets, get a better return. Looking for insurance, go for your term
that
insurance.
literacy is different level and expectation is अगर 20 साल वैसे भरने के बाद
मिला कुछ नहीं
तो आप क्या दोगे? तो then you have to give an ROP on that. I think
but the point
challenge
is,
of process.
see, all of this, we assume that our country's citizen will not be able to accept technology. We assume when the demonetization is done, how would the customer make the payment? But the Indian citizen learned WhatsApp, it learned digital payments, it proved those people who had, who took a philosophical stance that we will not be able to make digital payment, and proved that wrong by miles. Today we do about 1500 crore transactions a month, unheard of and still growing. I have no reason to believe that this generation, which has completely migrated to digital payment, will not be looking for digital solutions for various financial products. It could be insurance, could be any of this. For them, looking for this generation, I'm talking about people who are 20 plus now, who are banking digitally, and now you have another segment which is, let's say, 50, 60 and above, still not comfortable with digital payment. So our financial ecosystem will actually see two-pronged growth. One prong, one fork which is going to support those citizens who are not digital savvy. They will need physical, branches. They will need physical connect. They will need people to help them get their banking and financial products solved. And the other ecosystem, which is completely digital in their DNA. Now for them, if you are not thinking for a journey which is digital, they will not call up an insurance agent to understand. They will go to a site, understand among all the possibilities. Many of our clients who are building journeys using account aggregator are actually corporate agents building, trying to understand from citizens wherever he is invested in insurance, wherever he has insurance policies. And after understanding that, maybe trying to figure out where the gaps are and then pitching the product. So to that extent, the market is huge. The market opportunity, even in the digital savvy customer, is not fully addressed. Forget about focusing on, I would say, transforming the non-digital savvy to digital savvy. The market itself for the digital savvy citizens is so huge that you can create a very strong selling proposition in them and actually create profitable, business opportunities in those segments itself.
Sir, coming to that now, I got an interesting question for you. I'm sure one of your pet areas. One is to start with looking at the current scenario, the positivity which we have. How do you think the next 1 or 2 years the BFSI sector will become truly digital? Okay, of course we'll still have areas for improvement. कोई तो एक area, 2 areas कि ये तो निकल जाएगा one. And when I'm talking about digital, as I said, you are saying that there's a digital world which wants to have everything digital. So in that, हम क्या achieve कर पाएंगे कि which will go completely paperless? And there are activities, for example, like insurers are giving loans. Okay, so it's customers' own surrender value money based on which the loan is given. So insurer already has a security. He is identifying the amount कितना देना है, but then it is still not a digital journey. It's like you click here, then my guy will call you. That's a process in itself. So you as an account aggregator have got more information, right? So as I said, I know it's a pet area. So
let me correct you. I as an account aggregator has zero information. I only have consent. My FIU, who has taken the citizen consent, has all the information about citizen what he has consented for. So now the FIU has is in a position to get much more information and keep that information. The power of account aggregator really comes from something called recurring fetch. It's not that you couldn't have known about the customer. So imagine a few years ago, if you are a wealth customer, some bank reaches you, and the first thing they will, and you get convinced, okay, I will be taking wealth services from XYZ bank. But for them to advise you, the first stage of getting your data itself would be anything from 15 days to 45 days, depending upon how much time you as a customer are able to take out and share the financial information for them to undertake, and it's at your discretion. Whatever you share will be made available to them, and that, more importantly, that will not be live. That will be the position, your financial position on the day when you share. What happens with the account aggregator is, with the power of frequent fetch consent, which could be, now I can get your data, if you so want for a service, I can get your data on a daily basis also. So if your stocks have moved up and down on that day, or mutual fund position have moved up and down, I can get you on a daily basis. That really transforms opportunity. See, this country has seen a lending to asset ratio. So the loan to asset value for products like home loan, for products like gold loan are pretty decent. But loan to asset value for financial products like mutual funds and securities are not so good. Are not so good at all. In fact, there is the RBI's publishes monthly report on various retail investment, consumer loans that they classify it as. Under consumer loans, personal loans could be 12, 13, 14 lakh crore. Home loan could be 22, 23 lakh crore. Gold loans could be 1.5 to 2 lakh crore. The mutual fund book, outstanding book is only about 9,000 crore. Now, we have an industry which has about 65,000 crore of assets. Out of that could be some corporate, could be retail. I can tell you one fact. In gold, since I've worked for a long period of time in gold, there is some studies which says 20% of Indian gold is already pledged. We have total of about 25,000 tons of gold in this country. We consume about 800 or 900 crore annually. Out of those 25,000 crore, we have about 5,000 crore which is already pledged, either with the pawnbroker in an informal sector, with the jeweler shop, or with the NBFC, or with the bank. An asset of last resort, which you never want to part away with. Indian citizens, for that matter, any citizen, will not want to part away with the gold. Is the asset for your when the critical situation happens. That asset has already been pledged to the extent of 20%. Okay. Whereas I am seeing a financial asset of 65,000 crore, which is what only 9,000 crore.
So do you see a role of account aggregator being enhanced to take care of this in any way? Or should it be?
I see a role of account aggregator as a consent manager there, So having taken the consent of citizen, then making his financial investment data available to the FIU of his choice, where the FIU will get a visibility that Ganesh has, let's say, 50 lakh of mutual funds. Hey Ganesh, you have 50 lakh of mutual fund, I'm offering you 25 lakh against that on this click. And because I have a recurring consent feature, I don't have to do this OTP thing every time. Tomorrow, your holding value will change as a market change, or you will sell, or you will, add. For the accounts which are linked, I will be able to tell you today against your today's holding, which will get depleted by the amount you have sold. I am giving you, let's say you sold yesterday 10 lakh out of that, 40 lakh is, and there's some market change of 1% or 2%. So your holding values come to, let's say, 41 lakh. You go up.
Something
against
like the
41
last
lakh,
OD.
I'll give you the next day an offer.
Something like the last OD, you can say.
This is an offer which gets digitally created, and it's an offer which FIU is in a position to honor. See, giving a loan to a citizen, the first step is by telling him that I have an offer for you. You can take the money. On the day when the stars meet together, you had sent that message and the customer was in need of the money, he will call you, and then, here I'm giving you an offer. And then once the customer starts a journey, most of the time he will say he'll get an offer from a lender, okay, I'll give you 5 lakh rupees. He starts the journey, gives the details, euro happens, hey guy, I'm willing to give you money, but sorry, only 1.5 lakh. But you told me 5 lakh, so that offer is not an honorable offer. I can't honor it. Whereas in this case of a financial instrument investment that you have done in mutual fund, let's say securities, if I tell you on a real-time basis what is a holding value, everyday basis, so the depository gives you on an everyday basis, I will be able to give you an offer which is honorable for the day. And when you will click on it, it's say I think 3 clicks or 3 OTPs to get your offer, and another 2 OTPs to avail the offer, because those APIs also digitally available for lean marking also. So what this digital journey then does is it makes the complete intermediary channels, the DSAs, who had the power to hold the customer to ransom. All that fraud that used to happen in the banking, it's just seen. One customer's application will go to 5 banks. You don't know how much each bank will apply for. Today, all of that riffraff can be managed by these digital platforms, where you can see it transparently how many applications are there, how much investment is there, bureau hits are made available. The FIUs are today in a position to do far better in this digital journey than what we used to do about 10-15 years back. So the future is already here and now.
I think you are talking on lines of what I love the most, saying that why don't we underwrite a customer as a customer rather than ye product, ye function, ye unit type.
Correct.
Great. I think that adds a lot of value. So I'd like to thank you, sir, for this.
Thank you. I think it's a great opportunity for me also to get some of the questions that you asked were really put me into thinking mode. I think there is a lot of work which needs to be done to handle on the digital transformation and really making the processes digital. I'm one of the optimistic kind.
Yeah. The optimistic mein kya ho raha hai, sir? We have been talking, like we have been gung-ho.
Yeah.
But we have been, probably it's a false positive gung-ho in my view, where we are saying, hum sab digital hai, but really hum digital nahi hai. Digital is only 0-1. It cannot, it's like, saying, I am 99.9% compliant or 99% ethical. या तो आप ethical हो या तो unethical हो या आप compliant हो या non compliant.
I get you.
Similarly, digital हो या non digital हो.
No, but then
you're automated.
Opportunity is now.
Yeah. So I think we have to work in places ki chalo let's complete this bit, and the end journey is when we can underwrite a customer as a customer. And भाई उसको यहाँ से सब तरह से.
Sir, मैं तो कई बार see, I see the opportunity I'm getting in CAMS as a person to work in this. See, our company do so many things. Each of the domain is providing digital solutions which are like can transform citizens' life. Our KRA services sometime back came up with a solution which can do a complete end-to-end KYC in a digital journey in less than 10 minutes. Authenticated KYC is done. which earlier used to take at least 2 days also, even in digital journey. You will onboard it, but the KRS verification which will happen parallelly will take 2 days process, manual process. So this company, as a group, we are investing hugely into making digital journeys. Our API volumes would be among the largest in the country on, see, COVID, we are 70% market shareholder in mutual fund. COVID time, you never heard of a service breakage or downtime, that you could not sell your mutual fund or couldn't buy it, nothing like that. We were able to support the industry, at 70% of the industry was supported. Completely different. We are providing KYC services, CAMS Pay provide the payment agreement services, repository. I, as an account aggregator, we have invested money into the front-ending building through FinTuple, even on the analytic piece. What we have invested on through Think 360, the analytics solution. See, our core will be B2B. We do not focus on B2C part. B2B, we will ensure diligently providing. I think hats off to our management, top management, MD, the vision they have. We have about 6-7 pins on the wall. Anuj is very clear. RTA story is now done and dusted. It will scale up. It is other new opportunities where we can really make a difference.
Yeah. No, but I think इसमें I would like to say B2B is good. B2C is not your focus, but B2B2C is the area where we need to focus on, because B2B ka next, the B2C should be easy journey.
Actually, that's quite a different DNA. For me to really become B2C, at some point when B2B2C, the central B, if it's going to be a CAMS entity, it's a conflict of interest. The other businesses will find me in a situation where I'll be in a conflict.
Support. Suppose the first B is CAMS, second B is all the financial institutions, insurer, जो भी हो, banker हो, the C is me.
Yeah.
So this B को आप first service दे दो, second service बोलो कि भैया आपको I'm making it life simpler. You just have to push it.
I have a mutual fund central, I have my CAMS, but I don't see that as an approach that we are actually definitely. We can go that route. The organization has option to go that route, but it will create dissonance with the other B relationships, which is what we have consciously taken upon that we will not.
Fair. It will impact the.
So the relationship, see, monetization of citizen data. End of the day, I have the data on my platforms. I can monetize it. The first thought that comes to me naturally as a banker is, in banking, you get the customer, and then you monetize the customer by selling 30 different products. But in CAMS, as a entity which is servicing large B2B clients, our approach cannot be in monetizing citizen data. Our approach is always and will remain always providing the support to the businesses that we support for their growth. When they grow, we grow along with them.
Nice thought, sir. Yeah. Thanks a lot for a wonderful views.
Thank you, Ganesh.
For your views for my book. I'm sure we'll move towards creating digital excellence through this.
Thank you.
Thanks.